Hello everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Kaiserreich Ukraine. Let's continue on from where we last left off. First International Congress. Not a big deal. It doesn't concern us too much. At least I hope it doesn't. I don't see why it would. But we're currently dealing with the effects of Black Monday. We need to get 4 of these 5 parties on side. I think everybody... Okay. I thought people were going to hate us, but that doesn't seem to be the case. Troubles with the Class Council. As predicted by many, the practical implication of the recent USKHD proposal was about several obstacles. Questions of quotas for representation, a lack of engagement between local class organizations, and centralized bureaucracy, general chaos in all levels of government due to the ongoing crisis, all turned into a nightmare. The process of formation of the council into a bureaucratic nightmare. Fantastic. Cool. I didn't need that political power for, I don't know, swaying other people to join our side. Also, I only get 0.67. Oh, God. I have 101 days to get 4 of these people to like me. I am leaning towards I don't know if that's going to happen. What do you do? Slightly raise, will moderately lower the VHD. You slightly raise. I mean, we want everyone to like me. But that's kind of hard to do, right? The questions of the delegation of powers. It is true that a highly centralized bureaucracy of the Ukrainian state is sluggish in its response to the economic crisis. To alleviate the issue, deputies from several factions of Quam have suggested empowering local authorities for the most hard-hit regions. Additionally, they plan to create special offices for major Ukrainian regions tasked with coordinating immediate responses to crisis with local businesses, professional, and political organizations. While this initiative might have significant support within Quam, especially among the independent associations associated with Crimea, there are rumors of several high-ranking members of the SHD reaching out to the Hetman and his close circle over the matter. The SHD is the paternal autocrats, okay. Apparently, the secretive clique fears that delegating too much power to the region suffering from unrest will only embolden local insurgents and provocateurs. I will do it. I need people to like me a little bit. We will do. You can have a little autonomy, just as a treat, and just for the time being. It's not a for sure thing. Proceed with caution. Okay. It turns out the rumors of the SAG meddling were entirely unfounded. General Potviet Austriaistia was seen visiting the Hetman's private residence several times in the span of just a few days. Colonel Homsian was reportedly meeting with high-ranking bureaucrats for the ministers of the Interior and Finance, and while it's unknown if these meetings have borne any fruit, it nonetheless is a very worrying sign, and many members of the Quam are alarmed about the possible developments. Look, I would never overthrow the minuscule semblance of Ukrainian democracy, okay? I wouldn't do that. Mass privatization. Or create a corporate state. So the social liberals like us less, but they already, like, don't support me. Yeah, no, they actually hate me the most. So yeah, let's create a state corporation, please. Birth of the all-Ukrainian democratic movement. As the already miserable situation of West Ukraine has plunged into total hopelessness by the economic crisis, it didn't take much to be set aflame. Massive protests have been organized across the West, and in many places, the police have been confined to their stations by angry peasants. Exiled Republican leaders such as Petrolia and Vochenko have returned to Ukraine and have started organizing rallies and calling for civilian non-obedience. As political front has changed, the most major democratic and socialist parties have formed the VDR, the All-Ukrainian Democratic Movement, composed of the USDRP, the UPSR, and the RB. And strongly supported by the Borobish and even the URDP. This alliance is united behind Petrolia and the cause of achieving major change or even revolution in Ukraine. Well, that's not great. I would say that's pretty bad. Maybe that's just me. And also, okay, the socialists have overrun in Iran. Give me more research speed, please. So we get 1 civilian factory, we get 5% stability. And Archduke Wilhelm speaks out. During the Central Powers' occupation of Ukraine in 1917, an upstart Ukrainophile Archduke from Austria led his Sikh riflemen into the Ukrainian territory and saw himself as Vasil Vashivani, King of Ukraine. Supported by Emperor Karl I, the boy was 22, was becoming the ruler of the Austrian-backed Ukrainian monarchy. Mingling with the peasants, he became very popular for his ability to live much like them and his leading governmentship towards the territories under his command. Fortunately for us, any Austrian plans for Ukrainian monarchy collapsed in 1919 when the consolidation of the Ukrainian-backed Hetmanate. Archduke Wilhelm fled back to Galicia. But now the pretender has shown his face at rally in Proskourovov, speaking alongside Kiev and Petra, calling for resistance against the German Putman Hetman. Tell the Habsburg to go back to Austria. Tell one of your many family members to get the fuck out of Ukraine, okay? The situation, it's not looking great. Oh, so I guess we're basically just saying fuck the VSVZ because they oppose us already, which is not great. And we're already doing the state corporation, which will get more people, make them hate us even more. So getting the 5 out of 5, that ain't happening. But the 4 out of 5, where we basically, you know, we just fucking beat on the V as ZV just repeatedly, that's a plan. So representatives of the URDP have suggested temporary nationalization of banking centers in Kiev, Odessa, Kharkov, and Erkenstoslav to allow the central government to liquidate unprofitable ventures and stop any economic freefalls. Obviously, this proposal was met with fierce resistance from representatives of the VSZV and the Prophetis, who are weary of government intervention in financial affairs of their benefactors. Surprisingly enough, behind closed doors, members of the SHD voiced their support for the initiative, citing excessive unbridled capitalism and a lack of economic centralization. So this is 25 political power. We get more people to like us. The SHD's influence may have consequences. Don't worry about that. I'm sure that's okay. I'm not worried about the SHD. Are you worried about the SHD? Okay, Day of the Hetmanate. By the way, so we now have 2 supporters and 2 neutrals. Excellent. The Ukrainian state is inexorably tied to the institution of the Hetmanate. In many ways, Pavlo Skoropadsky has been a driving force behind the state since its inception. Although the Ottoman ministers have led to the state's government since the end of the Great War, the hetman alone has the right to nominate them, and thus determine the government's character. By design, the hetman is seen as by his supporters as the guarantee of the state, society, and a bulwark against radical politics. After all, the state was founded with the support of landing an interest in the German military, and was wasting no time in averting Republican social reforms. As Ukraine's Independence Day has Republican connotations, the government and its supporters instead for April 29th, the anniversary of Skoropadsky's election as hetman, as the primary national day. A military parade is traditionally held in Kiev to celebrate, followed by a public address to the hetman praising the state's achievements within the last year. The Great Cossack Rada and the local Cossack councils will often will also organize their own events, even including their own militia parades. Many formal April 29th functions have also been noted to have strong military or paramilitary character to them, perhaps a reflection of where the state support comes from. Beyond these jingoistic displays, conservative politicians often make other gestures. Ottoman Minister Doroshenko opted to make a statement, applauding the work his government has done, and expressing hope that the hetman will be seen as a symbol for all Ukrainians. The Democratic Agrarians have also hosted their own April 29th celebration, heavily attended by both the party's leaders and their aspirants. The Proletariat Industrial Lobby and the Union of Landowners have each also offered the hetman their congratulations, the latter even inviting them to their own event. The hetman, perhaps tactically, refused. Okay, so we do have the hetmanist movement. Politically, hetmanism is represented by several conservative organizations since the election was reinstated in 1920. Chief among them is the Democratic Agrarian Party, traditionally the largest hetmanist party, and the UDKHP is a champion of the post-independent status quo, holding an agrarian law and order platform that favors strong government combined with interventionist economic policies. However, they also view the status quo as a balance between the hetman's role and the initiative of his ministers. As such, they support the continued influence of the Shiom, with a minority even favoring a full ceremonial hetmanate. While the UDKHP has never led one, they acted as the bedrock of government for the last 16 years. Also notable are the Union of Industry, Trade, Finance, and Agriculture, and the All-Ukrainian Union of Landowners. Respective lobbyist bodies for industrial landowning interests, the Proletariats and the VSZV have wielded their large political weight in the shape of policy in a pro-business and pro-landowner direction. The VSZV is especially powerful. The hetmanate was arguably their creation, and they have continuously frustrated land reform efforts since 1920. Their partners and Proletariats have also grown in importance as the economy has something both bodies credit to their semi-permanent role in the government. However, the unrest in the mid-1920s suggested development to hetmanism that the Shiom was not capable of preserving national stability, and a stronger hand was needed. To this end, a loyalist colonel named Boris Hosmin partnered with the Great Cossack Rada head, Ivan Potovets Orstyashtia, to form the Union of Hetmanist State Builders. The SHD is a semi-secret society that seeks the rationalization of the state along autocratic lines, and at least until it can be secured the more thoroughly Their secret gives them a bad reputation, and the headman has accordingly kept them distant. Yet, some Soymids fear that another wave of unrest could play to their advantage. By the way, do I want to start training more units? We have 1,000 rifles. You have support equipment, which is a little... We don't build support equipment. So actually, I want to take the engineers... you know, don't take the engineers out. Just duplicate this and remove them from you. And let's just say... We can have 39 divisions. Give me a solid 10 rank on this. We don't have factories. I would love to build some tanks. I would like to have some more motorized divisions. But like right now, our industry just cannot support that that movement, which is a little sad. Meeting at the residence. It is not known what in particular has spurred this invitation, but leaders of the all shown parliamentary factions were invited to Hetman's private residence several days ago. The details of the meeting were kept secret, but judging by the reaction of the URDP headquarters, one can assume that Skropovsky has tried to influence ongoing negotiations regarding the relief bill in a more direct manner. As of now, this intervention has seemed to produce the exact opposite effect. The URDP deputies are furious, and even some independents and more democratically inclined members of the UDKHP have withdrawn their support for the bill in protest. Awesome! Thank you! Thank you! Well, we know you're close. Okay, now you said yes. We have 64 days to get the URDP and the independent deputies on side. This is we do not care about you. I care about you. And I care about you. Authoritarian goes up. Removes... Okay, this removes the German railway company. Which I guess actually probably give me like one more civilian factory. If we get these two done, that'll be 42 days. We have 64 days total. I'm going to assume that the URDP is probably the furthest away from supporting us. 0.64. I don't know if we'll ever be able to even click any of these buttons, to be honest. Okay, the question of stockpiled grain. Obviously we know what decision we're going to take here. With the price of agricultural goods lowering almost by the day, we've accumulated significant amounts of unsold grain in our stockpiles. Representatives of the VSZV and the protest suggest to keep selling the grain, even at these unfavorable prices. Each source of revenue counts, they argue, and besides, gained funds may be directed to the bailing of various businesses, thus keeping people employed on the street. The URDP was quick to announce this proposal, saying the money raised this way would be used to directly help the ailing agricultural sector. Yes. It may backfire on us, but I need your support. And I also need to support the independent deputies. We have 55 days to make this work. Okay, got another dockyard. I guess I'll have like one build basic submarines, and we'll just kind of have this kind of going for a while. I'm going to take one off of you. We can start producing a handful of trucks. We can use that for logistics, or we can use that for... divisions if we're lucky. We have to be very lucky, but, you know. 194. Yeah, I mean, it's always good, right? Okay, railroad issue. How are people feeling right now? Ooh, look, that is some, that's some good support. The VSZV are probably never going to actually support us. But let's drop the gold standard now. 41 days... We now no longer have our bonus to industry, but that's okay. We'll lower support. I mean, we gotta do the wealthy pay more. I really don't have a choice in the matter. I can't have this fail. With most revenue sources from the state drying up and with no sign of improvement in the near future, Shum deputies are pondering their possible options. The URDP suggests implementing an emergency tax hike on the upper classes, arguing that in the conditions of severe economic inequality existing in Ukraine, the poor social groups have been hit the hardest, and thus it's the responsibility of the wealthy to support the state during the crisis. Representatives of the VSZV and the protest oppose the proposal, saying that increasing the financial burden on the entrepreneurial class right now will only worsen the business climate in the country. One possible alternative solution is the emergency loan from Berlin, which would help us weather the worst of the crisis. It is worth noting that several protest representatives have hinted that this question is of the utmost importance to the benefactors, and our choice here to be to find relationships with the organization in the foreseeable future. No, I can't do it. Actually, I wonder if I even need to worry about doing the gold standard anymore then. If it passes, we get faster recovery. So we're down 2 months. We have 33 days. You're done in 10 days. So I think we can get like exactly... No, because you take 28 days. You give me 50 political power. Everything promised with the VSDV means we need to keep them if we pass the relief bill. I mean, it's just never going to happen. It's literally never. They already opposed the bill. We've taken every decision to basically oppose them. Oh, there's also a general strike. Excellent. Cool, cool, cool. So you have 23 days. So we cannot finish either of you. Like, it's just not going to happen. Austerity measures. And if that's the case, maybe we need to swing back over here. Because we have our 4 out of the 5. And I don't think, like, the focus won't even finish in time anyways. You know what? One military factory, done. 35 days, fantastic. Dropping the gold standard. For some time now, the Hirnavias have been tied to the gold standard as the base of the currency. While in the past has afforded some degree of stability in our financial system, in the wake of Black Monday has quickly become a detriment, and the gold standard is now being widely abandoned around Europe as too inflexible to react to the changing realities of the economy. However, there's no consensus if we should trust the market and let them value the Harvenia, which is potentially volatile, or but which also offers greater financial independence, or tied to the German mark. That is still the most stable currency in Europe despite the crisis. Give me the stability. We'll tie it to the German mark. I don't have much of a choice here. And of course, we get a general strike. Thank you. Thank you. The VDRs declared general strike across the industrial centers of the country. Much of this countryside is already being swayed into civil resistance, but now the unrest has also spread into the cities. Most of Kiev is in a standstill. The unions of Odessa, Kharkov, and Sevastopol have also swiftly joined the battle. Most worryingly, the Borobists and other Highline socialists have bounced back in the national relevancy as vocal leaders of the strike, spearheading the anti-Hetman rallies in many cities. Fuck you! You piece of the shit. Okay. So we're gonna get more issues. Railway workers and dock worker unions have joined the general strike, paralyzing the transportation system across the country. You remove... Okay, so we... Yeah, you're also just bad. Excellent. So I don't think we have a single good focus anymore. I guess technically you're more positive, and I guess you're also technically more positive. Unions and cooperatives. State-supported pressure unions and farmer cooperatives are one of the main instruments in controlling labor relations. With the severity of the current crisis, it is clear that they are struggling to maintain proper order among workers and peasants. A possible solution may lie in empowering these organizations, granting them more freedoms in labor negotiations and support from the state. So we can compromise, which will get things like kind of all these. Actually, no, you're just good. Radical solutions, please. We have 19 days, but the bill should pass. And now we got to learn about the syndicalists now as well. Although not formally recognized date like April 29th, happiness often attached a special significance to June 24th, 1925. This year notoriously saw ripple effects from the British Revolution bring instability across the world, something from which Ukraine was not spared. Encouraged by a successful workers' revolution in Britain, the underground party of social revolutionary Borobish launched a campaign of strikes, sabotage, and public attacks against the government. What was initially hoped to be a fairly short wave ultimately dragged out across much of the year as harsh, indiscriminate crackdowns often instigated increasing militant unrest. The period climax came in the summer when Ottoman Minister Fyodor Labeshki's life was claimed by an act of revolutionary violence. Lizjohub was the only minister that the state had known since the position was formalized in 1919. His leadership helped define the character of the post-war Ukrainian state. His assassination brought attention to a fever pitch as police forces and Cossack militias engaged with Boryas cells in a mutual retaliation for many days. The Hetman was eventually forced to intervene by deploying the military and asserting control over the Cossacks, providing clear direction in order to the suppression efforts as well as an overwhelming force. While the unrest initially flared further, the escalation was eventually successful in driving the Boris back on the ground. Yet the episode exposed the state's fragility and won it few supporters. The events of 1925 also made the Boris into a more notorious non-Republican revolutionary force, as well as the most hated enemy of the Hetmanist. The anniversary of Liberal's death is a solemn date for the state supporters, bringing vows each year that his killers will be defeated. But while sustained pressure has weakened them, the Borobists persist, and the movement has just endured years of efforts to eliminate them. The OVDV believes that they are still orchestrating revolutionary activity in secret. The Ukrainian Party of Social Revolutionary the Communist Syndicalist, more commonly known as the Borobist, has its roots as a pro-Bolshevik splinter faction of the Party of Socialist Revolutionaries. Borobist guerrilla forces were one of many operating in Ukraine during 1918 and 1919, fighting against the Ukrainian state and seeking to establish a Ukrainian communist government. The party was driven on the ground in 1920 and absorbed local elements of the Ukrainian left the Russian left SRs, opting to bide its time until 1925, when it waged its notorious campaign of agitation and revolutionary violence against the government. The incorporated left SRs introduced the Borobist to syndicalist thought, something that helped define their later ideological development. Observing successful syndicalist revolutions in France and Britain, the party adopted syndicalism as a successful model, synthesizing it with their previous position to help a program that was suited for Ukraine's material conditions. As their present name suggests, the result is a mixture of council communist and syndical ideas, but unlike many Western syndicalists, the Borobists view agricultural workers as critical to the Ukrainian revolution, and seek to give them a leading role within it. The Borobists have also held left national views since their inception, further making them a curiosity among syndicalist groups. The party is led by Alexander Sumensky, a veteran revolutionary and former member of the People's Republic Central Rada, with a strong background in agrarian issues. Under his leadership, the Borobists have pursued a strategy of confrontation with the state, most exemplified in their 1925 campaign. While this approach keeps them in the minds of Ukrainian workers, it's also drawn the permanent ire of the Hetmanist. As such, the movement faces a near constant pressure that makes it difficult to grow. It's difficult to see the Borobists succeeding as long as the state places importance on their destruction. Got 15 more days. Negotiating with the strikers, 3% stability. Thank you. We're barely above 0, so, you know, that's something. We have 8 more days. I can't see a reality in which this fails unless the day before they just throw you like a fuck you event, but I don't think they will. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't do that to me. Vote on their bill. The time has come. After months of horse trading, pleas, threats, and compromises, we are finally here. The Xiom Financial Committee has approved the bill and is ready to present it for voting. It's entirely possible that this day may decide the course of the entire crisis plaguing our nation. Now we can only wait for the result of the vote, and the bill is passed. Thank you very, very much. When do you... will be removed on the 23rd of September, 1937. Okay, so like a year, a little bit more than a year. I'm very happy with that development. But with the bill being passed, I think this would be a great time for us to end off for today. So if you've enjoyed, give me a thumbs up. Not enjoying, throw a thumb down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.